And joining me now is the White House Deputy Communications Director and Deputy Press Secretary Brian Morgenstern. Brian, thank you for joining us. So, a lot of people have been speculating on this because, Stephen Miller, high profile, caught COVID-19, Kayleigh McEnany and others. What is the White House mask policy right now? Optional, non? Tell us about it.
So we have signs saying, masks required to go in. We are wearing our masks when we cannot socially distance. In most of our meetings, we try to put chairs between one another so we're not getting up into each other's personal space, of course. We're taking precautions. We have hand sanitizer everywhere. The White House cleaning staff does an amazing job. They do deep cleans daily in the residence and in the West Wing. And we're, carrying on with the people's business. And as positive tests are identified, those folks go isolate, they quarantine, they behave consistent with our CDC guidance. And the rest of us who continue to test negative, we're able to work remotely if we need to. If there are instances where we should be in the office for particular meetings or discussions, we do that. We just do it in a safe way. We have masks, we have hand sanitizer, we're able to separate from one another and stay out of each other's personal space. So we're just carrying on the people's business. We're just doing it in a safe way.
So, Brian, I've been there and I've taken the test because I was going to speak to the president. I was going to be in contact. You take the test. A few minutes later, you find out if you're negative. Obviously, you're negative, and you go meet with the president. There's a lot of people in the briefing room, a lot of press who are complaining. One guy even went so far as to say he felt safer in Afghanistan, covering the war in Afghanistan, than he did covering the president in the briefing room. What do you say to those people?
I think it was North Korea, actually.
Okay.
Somebody said he felt safer covering North Korea than he did being at the White House. I'm sorry this is happening to you. I mean, give me a break. I mean, look, they frequently wear masks and they take precautions just as we do, but we have to carry on with our business. And, that kind of over-the-top fear-mongering is not good for anybody. The country, our heart goes out to families who've experienced loss because of this virus. No one wanted it to come over here from China. The president certainly never wanted to get sick. We don't want to see any families suffering. But we have to open our country. We have to open our churches, our schools, our businesses. We can just do it in a safe way. And the virus is nowhere near what it was in terms of posing risks today as it was a few months ago. And it's because of the president's leadership with Operation Warp Speed that we have treatments that have dramatically reduced mortality rates, dramatically reduced hospitalization rates. And many patients across this country are getting treatments like dexamethasone, like remdesivir, like some of these drugs that the president has been treated with, and it dramatically reduces the course of the illness and the severity of the illness so that we can continue to go about our lives while protecting vulnerable populations and just using smart common sense. So, fear-mongering, stuff like that is just totally unhelpful. I would add, by the way, many on the press staff have now tested positive. Some journalists in the press pool who always wear masks have also tested positive. We don't want anyone to be sick. But for anyone to then blame someone else for the transmission, we don't know where it came from. Frankly, we're not interested in identifying any kind of patient zero. That's unhelpful. We want to mitigate further spread, and we want to mitigate risk. And that's what we've been doing so that our country can reopen.
Brian, a lot of people have asked what was the last negative COVID test for President Trump, and there seems to be, I don't know, I don't think anyone's actually ever said it. Is there, do we know, do you know when the last negative COVID test for President was?
I don't. It's a fair question, but look, we work with the facts we've got, and we've gone back, and there's a timeline we've been able to discuss, which is we know Hope Hicks had a positive test Thursday. Late that night, the president announced very promptly his positive test, and those folks immediately, started going into quarantine and being treated and went about their business. Contact tracing happens at the White House Medical Unit with the CDC. We have an epidemiologist embedded in the White House Medical Unit, and they do contact tracing. And Eric, it's a really important point because I think sort of some facts get lost in this conversation. We just need to refocus on here's how it works. Contact tracing, you have a positive case identified, either symptoms or a test, and then the medical professional handling that case looks back 48 hours. They identify anyone who may have been a close contact. That's someone who could have been within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. They consider that that person may have been exposed. They contact that person. That person then sort of assesses the situation. They consider they monitor their symptoms, and we go from there, and we try to prevent further risk. That's how it works, and that's what we're doing.
Brian, just before we let you go, less than a minute or so, and I know this is a big topic, but just about a minute or so, can you just give us the status of the relief bill? At one point, President said, let's pull back from negotiating with the Democrats, and then he corrected and said, no, let's push forward with something more, Republican. Where do we stand?
Yeah, Eric, it's a great question. I mean, we know there are Americans out there still suffering. They need support. The Republicans have always been in favor of measures that will directly address problems affecting people. We've proposed standalone bills for the airline industry because we don't want those workers to be laid off. We've proposed PPP to keep small business employees connected to their jobs. We've proposed economic impact payments, those stimulus checks, money for opening schools so parents can stop doing double duty. These are things that everyone agrees on. The Speaker has so far refused to really negotiate in good faith. We offered $1.6 trillion. She decided zero is better than 1.6 trillion because she wants all these funds to go to blue states who maybe have not managed their budgets well, funds that have nothing to do with the coronavirus. So she's trying to exploit the situation here. The president doesn't want to stand for that, but he will still, in good faith, discuss some of these measures, these targeted measures that will actually really help people. Our economy is doing very well, but these things can still help.
All right, Brian, we're going to leave it right there. Brian Morgenstern, by the way, she said 2.4 trillion or nothing, take it or leave it. Wow. We used to talk in billions or hundreds of billions. Now we're talking trillions. It's getting crazy out there. Brian Morgenstern, thank you for your time.